Hi, this is my ranking, but if you want to know why, you're gonna have to watch the video. Oops. Starting on April 14th, we get the opportunity to get one free 5-star servant from Fake Grand Order. Now, of course, there are some caveats, like they only give you a specific pool to choose from, you do have to play the game, and there are specific things you have to do before the game decides to take that servant away. What is wrong with this game? Still, it's not really asking for too much, and ultimately the toughest part about this whole process is deciding which servant to pick. Now, you do have to understand that Fake Grand Order's 5-star drop rate is absolutely abysmal, 1%. And while any featured servant has a pretty good chance of showing up, it's still a probability, and ultimately not a guarantee. What I'm saying is you can spend a monetary equivalent of $200 like I did and not get a single 5-star JPEG. Thankfully, as a free-to-play, I didn't actually spend any money, but there are some people you should never look up to. This ticket features every non-limited 5-star servant, except for the one I spent 444 Saint Quartz on and didn't get, and the other guy, which, honestly, 25 when you look at it isn't a very big pile compared to the actual number of 5-stars in the game. What is wrong with this game? Step 1. Choose your favorite. Now obviously this advice is very worthless to you, so let's move along. Step 2. Arbitrary rankings. Ranking in Fake Grand Order is hard, okay? There are so many variables that can make a specific servant good or great. Easily the biggest one is those specific limited support servants that can drastically improve another servant's performance. So like it or not, they'll probably affect the rankings. After all, this is a team game. You know, except for when it's not. Okay, tier list, let's get started. Caster Man. Actually very useless, really overrated. You go up here. Seba. Now I am taking future buffs into account. On one hand, they're not here yet, and so the servant's current performance won't be as great. On the other hand, they will be here, and most buffs actually make a significant difference. Now here we have a servant that has incredible potential, from repeated noble phantasms, simple but solid skill sets, and can benefit greatly from upcoming support. But even if you don't plan to get those support servants, she's still pretty good. Best part is if you don't manage to get her limited caster form, with a bit of editing you can pretend you did. She's obviously not the same as Caster Main here. Different buffs, the ability to heal, skill cooldown, and, fairly significantly, the MP charge is tied to her own noble phantasm rather than a skill. Nevertheless, just because you're different doesn't mean you're worse, a valuable lesson in many regards. A great deal of her strength lies in endurance, and the overall increase in damage output is just an added bonus. Not every servant plays the same, and a great deal of deciding what's best for you depends on your favorite playstyle. Still, I think in many respects she's an excellent candidate. Moon Concert, there's no specific order to which I'm bringing these servants in. Janako has a lot of capable skills, from boosting fighting capabilities to defensive tools, and like many others, benefits from future support. However, she's also a Moon Cancer servant, which, while extremely rare, is also rarely used. She also skill seals her ally with her third ability, which isn't impossible to work around, but just keep it in mind. Overall, while she can be a very good servant, actually using her often involves situational conditions to benefit best, and that's not even taking into account whether you have other servants that could just do the task for less. Arjuna. He's one of the best triple arts buster noble phantasm archer servant that might inflict instant death. He also gets a monkey in one of his costumes. Or maybe there's a more specific name, I don't really know my monkeys. Unfortunately, not even the rubber ducky is enough to make him stand above the other archers, so down you go. Francis Drake. A staple in QP farming, and with future supports, perhaps even beyond that as well. Admittedly, without support she has a pretty short-term skill set, though future buffs can help with that regard. Overall, she's a strong servant that benefits further from her class, so not a bad pick at all. Scheherazade. As someone who has her at NP3 when I really wanted 3 other servants, I'm forced to admit, that king bonus does work. Now there are actually several kings that are both assassins or berserkers, but these are still rather rare overlaps, and the number of times the fight's actually that difficult I can count on one hand. And even with this, you can't forget she has one of the lowest attack values in the entire game. It's definitely not impossible to make good use of her, but there's a lot of competition too. Furthermore, her other 2 skills don't directly support damage output, and while they are interesting, it doesn't really go a long way. Unfortunately, as a result, she's a pretty niche pick here. Xiang Yu. A critical hit berserker that will get a much better tool to use those stars in the future. Combine this with a strong skill set that can break through invincibility, and you can have a pretty powerful servant, especially with strong support. He is a berserker though, so the obvious benefits and drawbacks are also there. Lastly, he's not the best looper, if you like to play that way. Otera. She's got some capable skills, with buffs, crit stars, and the ability to remove enemy defensive buffs. These make her a very strong servant, but when compared to the other two sabers on this list, one thing is lacking: a noble phantasm charge. Hopefully she gets one in the future. Europa, a strong rider servant. She's got more defensive tools than Francis Drake, but perhaps as a result her damage output is just a bit behind. Personally, I value offensive power in a damage dealer, so when comparing the two I'd prefer Drake, but I also understand if you think the defensive capability should deserve better. Not that I'll change my opinion, of course. Enkidu, an amazing lancer with great stats and capabilities. And then we get to skills. They're very simple, but allow Enkidu to function well in a team or solo. Furthermore, the single target Noble Phantasm is already pretty strong, even without taking special traits into account. With an excellent foundation to work with, I personally rank Enkidu pretty high. Jack the Ripper, another capable servant with excellent star generation and strong Noble Phantasm gain. However, even with her NP gain and damage bonus, I do feel that her damage is a bit on the low end, which isn't really helped by her assassin class. Her skills haven't received any buffs either, though I suppose it's a testament to her capabilities that she can still contribute better than most. Sanzing stands out as a powerful single-target caster, especially with her first ability to fill the NP gauge quickly. The Noble Phantasm itself is well known for its strength, and its crit rate debuff is a nice touch that's sometimes overlooked. Her second skill, which lets her serve as a tank, will also eventually get an attack buff too, letting her play a larger role of support and further boosting her damage. Combine all that with her third skill, which also grants debuff immunity for a single turn, gives Sanzing a strong recommendation. Napoleon, a powerful Buster archer that faces stiff competition from other famous Buster archers. This doesn't detract from his viability at all. His skills, stats, and damage output are all a testament to his strength, especially when those bonuses kick in. As far as the servants on this list, Napoleon isn't a bad pick at all. Bradamante, an excellent lancer when paired with strong click support, but take that away and you tend to notice some flaws. For instance, her skill set is surprisingly simple, and while the last skill is nice with the NP charge and the buff cleanse, her kit is rather tame for a 5-star servant. It'd be nice if she gets buffed to raise her capabilities in the future. Anastasia. She's a solid caster that doesn't need to rely on a niche. She's got her own tools to charge her Noble Phantasm, offensive buffs to increase its strengths, and some extra debuffs to go alongside her. Admittedly, she will need some extra help if you want to set up a stable loop, but it's not as if she's helpless without it. Ozymandias. He's already a great servant, with simple and strong support combined with his solid damage dealing capabilities. But then he later gets a buff to his Noble Phantasm, bringing in the sun and reducing his skilled cooldowns by a turn. Use that with the other future buff, which can throw in a star regen and crit damage buff, and you've got a very capable rider that will benefit even further from extra support. Orion. Excellent mail killer, and the Noble Phantasm can set your opponent's damage back a bit. However, you're not going to bring Orion for defensive capabilities, and when it comes to offense there are just much more consistent picks. Mordred. Another strong saber. The recent buff to her second skill can reliably raise her crit damage, and the third skill gives her some looping potential with the right tools. Even if you take looping out of the equation, she's still a capable servant, though I do think it'd be nice if her buffs lasted a bit longer. Vlad III, a arts berserker that's recently received a strong buff to his third skill, buffing his NP gain and giving him an extra guts buff. He's also slated to receive another buff to his Noble Phantasm, increasing its damage output and reducing resistance to arts, making him a very powerful servant that can go further with strong support. Karna. He's a powerful lancer that can follow up on his Noble Phantasm with strong critical hits, but getting those crit stars usually requires someone else's support. When the stars align, Karna will excel, but seriously, that crit star thing is pretty important. Nightingale. A support servant who's also a berserker, which can make it hard to provide consistent support in the first place. Her defensive capabilities don't really make up for this either, so you might have to bring a support to support. And then at that point you may as well bring someone else. Still, her healing skills are certainly strong. She's got a buster support for anyone who wants it, and as a berserker she isn't likely to take up all the stars. These are all very strong points, but she's still a berserker with little in the ways of reliable defense. Osaka Behime. She's a good assassin support with a variety of tools, though admittedly the NP gauge charge is kind of on the low end. She does bring a lot of other uncommon things in return though. Buff removal, decent durability, and can carry her own weight in a pinch. However, her team defensive buffs aren't actually as high as her own, and so she isn't the best option to help your team survive. She won't be used as often as the more general supporter, but you can definitely make it work with some thinking. Achilles, another strong rider. Wow, they're all pretty good. Though this one utilizes quick. He has a good foundation to start with, and his last two skills let him tank if used together. Of course, the turn durations are different at max level, so it's not as seamless as you might like, but his strong damage performance more than makes up for this. And finally, Ruler. Two of these skills are incredibly simple, like, look at this. And while her second skill will get buffs, it would be nice if the other two could get a similar treatment. Still, her defensive capabilities are undeniable, and if that extra defense down debuff, then maybe you won't have to stall as long in the future. Ultimately, she's much better at defending than attacking, and her presence won't strengthen other servants as much as the ones on top. And that's all 25 servants, and according to my bias, I'm ranking them like this. I'm valuing the strongest single target servants for the toughest fights, and I personally don't think you should choose a damage dealing servant just for farming unless they're incredibly exceptional. Still, all of these servants have something to bring to the table, whether it's exceptional support, exceptional defense, or monkey, so you really can't go wrong unless you're foolish enough to disagree with someone else. Personally, in my case, I'm debating between Tamamo, Enkidu, Ozymandias, or Jean. In most other cases, I either already have them, have a better option, or just plain took the monkey. Thanks for watching, and if you liked this video, leave a like and subscribe. Comment below who you plan to get, or which servants you want to get, or maybe just which servants you straight up won't get. Just don't forget, when the time comes, do the stuff the game tells you, lest they snatch your new 5-star servant away because it's such a fun idea. Still, no matter who you choose, always remember, they'll probably show up next time you get a 5-star poll.